Hello friends, today we'll take a look at a battle between Odin's Saxon as Rome and myself commanding Egypt. It's the battle of the statue of Zeus at Olympia. You can see our builds here, fairly infantry heavy for both of us. He has the skirmishing advantage, I have the beast and cavalry advantage. His infantry should be able to chew through my Galatian swords fairly easily. So on this map I like to go for the high ground pretty quickly. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm pushing up all my guys on the high ground, and usually being in this kind of very bunched up formation, it kind of delays the response of your opponent a little bit, because they're kind of wondering, okay, what does he really have there, what's he going to do with it, and so on. So my opponent is just going to stay down here, he isn't going to try to push up himself, so good for me. And in a few minutes he comments something like, just take the high ground, it won't matter, or something like that. So bit of an arrogant statement there, having the high ground matters, but he is probably fairly confident in the abilities of his army, and no wonder, he has a pretty strong line of evocati cohort here, and he has a decided skirmishing advantage, so he probably sees nothing that he won't be able to kill in melee or skirmish to death. Now my build consists of 6 Galatian swords, decent medium swords, 6 Levi Thurio spears, and these are kind of a surprise because they have the same ammo load and damage as normal Thurio spears. They have less armor and are slightly weaker in melee, but still a decent unit, very cheap. And Ptolemaic cavalry, 3 citizen cavalry, African war elephant general, and that's it. My opponent has 3 auxiliary Balearic slingers, 3 auxiliary Syrian archers, 4 evocati cohort, and these guys could probably kill almost all of my infantry on their own. 2 Hastati, 2 Vigiles, 2 Soci Equites. And he also has 2 hidden legionaries. So I'm going to set up my army here, and the plan is, since he has the skirmishing advantage, I have to make... I just can't take them head on and expect to win, although I have the uphill advantage. I have to make preparations to be able to ensure that my skirmishers are the ones that come out on top. So my plan now is to push my skirmishers and my cavalry forward. I'm going to start firing pretty soon at this centermost unit of auxiliary Syrian archers, keep my cavalry in support, and as soon as he's moving his Syrian archers up in front of his lines, I'm going to rush them with my cavalry. If I catch him, that's fine. I probably won't, but if I don't catch him, it will enable me to 1. Maybe bunch up his skirmishers a bit more, so they take more damage, and 2. It will stop his skirmishers from firing back at my guys. So it will give me an advantage for some time. So as you can see, I've just given move orders here. I don't want them to rush into these evocati cohort just yet. So he's moving his skirmishers back, and that's going to enable me to get some good shots in, and you can see his units are dropping fairly nicely here and getting bunched up. So the second part of the plan is sending these Thurio spears forward. They have pretty decent ammo load, 5 javelins that they can throw to a range of 80, and they do 29 missile damage. So here his first line of Syrian archers, his first unit is going down, and my Balearic slingers have my Rodin slingers haven't lost a single guy yet, so they have destroyed a unit of Syrian archers, and they haven't taken any casualties themselves. So this is going fairly well, but I can't relax and rest on my laurels. I have to continue to press my advantage. So in order to do that, I'm putting on quick reload, which is I'm going to hit both of these units at once. Now his guys have a penalty for using precision shot. So I'm going to send this is pretty important actually, sending my Levi Thurio spears up to focus fire on this unit of Syrian archers, hopefully to break it as quickly as possible. And let's see if the javelins start raining in. There we go. And so I'm just going to withdraw my guys And while he's rushing forward, I am going to countercharge with my Galatian swords. They should be able to deal with the Hastati fairly easily. The Evocati will be a problem, but let's see how well they do. Here comes the charge. Now these guys had the charge orders on the wrong unit here, so they are going to get wrecked. These guys are doing slightly better, but still getting wrecked. But they're getting some kills on the charge. The guys that are up against the Hastati are going to win fairly convincingly. And now the next part of the plan is, this is a multi-stage plan that I wanted to try with this army, is that when these Levi Thurio spears are put in square formation, they can shoot in all directions. So this unit is going to be able to shoot at this unit and at this unit, and they're basically going to be able to support all of these fights without me having to micro at all. So that's going to be pretty helpful, and they're going to be able to shoot in all these directions and support fights in multiple directions, get in flanking shots. Very useful, so that I don't have to manually control where they're firing. And over here the Hastati are going down, some Vigiles standing over there, and right now I'm making a mistake. It doesn't cost me the game, fortunately, but I really should have just smashed through here with my African elephants. Instead I am taking the long way around here. I could have just removed the rest of his skirmishers now, I think. And here he's coming in with some more legionaries. 3 legionaries, so we had 3 legionaries hidden. And yeah, I'm going around with my elephants, a big mistake. But still, my Galatian swords are starting to waver and fall to his Evocati. But his Evocati are taking significant missile damage. You can see the javelins coming in here from all these units, just making them drop fairly nicely, and without having to do anything, getting in rear shots, getting in flanking shots. I quite like that setup, especially with these Levi Thurio spears. They are very weak in melee, and I want them to use most of their missiles before they run into combat. And here we'll see they're going to hold out for a little while as well against these Evocati, tire them out a bit, while the fights are being supported by the other units, and I can shoot at them with my Rhodians. And the Rhodians are the real killers here. Because if my opponent decides to just ignore my squares, and he can just push through, then they will get shot in the flanks and in the back all the while running after these guys. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. If they stay, they get shot to death by these Rhodians, and if they push through, they're going to get shot by these Levi Thurio spears. So not a good situation. So here I'm able to charge his skirmishers with my Ptolemaic cavalry. And at this time my opponent says something to the effect of, well, your skirmishers just won you the battle, or your slingers just won you the battle. Well, he had, in addition to having slingers of the same quality that I had, he had 3 auxiliary Syrian archers. The reason I am winning and I won this battle is not because of my slingers, it's because they were supported by cavalry and then were supported by Thurio spears, and when the Thurio spears withdrew, they were supported by Galatian swords. So the reason why I was able to win this battle was because I had a more balanced army, I took the most advantageous position on the battlefield, and I was able to use my smaller skirmishing force to greater effect than my opponent did. So those factors combined caused me to win this battle. So a Roman army like this is kind of, you can say it's 2-dimensional. He is going to try to shoot me to death and then charge in with infantry that can deal with most of the infantry that I can field. The problem with it is that, like here, the engagement was 100% on my terms. I forced my opponent to react by having superiority in missiles. If he would have just stood there, I would have been able to shoot all of his skirmishers to death with my Thurio spears, and then I would have been able to focus on his legionaries and fire at them at will. So army that is very reliant on its heavy infantry can work, but it will suffer against armies that can catch it on the move with shock cavalry and elephants and basically dominate the skirmishing due to a cavalry advantage. So that's the reason I kind of like this army, because it is balanced. It has a lot of cheap infantry. It won't just shoot through anything that's put in front of it. It has to. The different units have to support each other in order for this army to be effective. Because these Thura spears, they will just melt away to any half-decent melee unit. And the Galatian swords as well, they are not a really... They're a cost-effective unit, but they're not a really good unit to send against Evocati and other elite swords. But when they are backed up, they can hold the enemy for a while, they can do some damage, and they can ensure that the missiles and the cavalry can finish the job. So it looks like me getting the high ground was quite important after all. This army doesn't look very intimidating. You see a lot of Levi Thuria spears and Galatian swords, a few skirmishers. The elephants give reason to plan accordingly, but if you have 6 skirmishers and 2 vigilates, the elephants aren't probably not going to be a major issue either. And I hardly got to use my elephants because I messed up the charge. I ran them around here instead of just charging them straight in. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like having single units that I have to rely on doing a lot of work. I like having an army that I can use in tandem, use them together to support each other, and I think I was able to use this army fairly well to support the different components. The skirmishers were supported by the Thuria spears, which in turn were supported by the Galatian swords, and supported by the cavalry that scared away his skirmishers. Basically made it so that I got more kills on one of my mercenary rodent slingers than he got on all of his. Almost. So let's see, 30 plus 40, that's 70, 111. Yeah, actually, almost more and more this one unit. And the Galatian swords did fairly okay. The ones that were matched up against Evocati didn't do too well for themselves. These Thuria spears, 101 kills on Thuria spears, not too shabby at all. Just decent amount of kills on all these units. The one standout that did poorly were these African war elephants, but that was due to my misuse of them. So my opponent had a decided infantry advantage here, a decided skirmishing advantage, although it can be argued that these guys are also able to serve as skirmishers, but he had the ranged advantage anyway. And these legionaries and these Evocati, they just chewed through my Galatian swords. But a fun battle, I think, and it's... Well, arrogance has been the downfall of many an army, both in history and in Rome too. So careful about being arrogant and being too confident in the abilities of your army. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on